Revealed, how a single dad CEO discovered incredible love with a poor girl in just one blind date. Jake Thornton was not just any single dad, it was as if he was born to juggle both the demands of a tech startup and the daily realities of raising his spirited teenage daughter, Lily. He had built a life of affluence, but at a cost he often contemplated late at night, staring at the neon lights of the skyline outside his apartment window. He loved Lily fiercely, but the loneliness crept in, gnawing at him with thoughts of companionship he yearned for but was sure he couldn't have. When his close friend Dan suggested a charity blind date event, Jake hesitated, torn between his instinct to protect his heart and his desire to contribute something meaningful to the world around him. As he arrived at the bustling event, every face seemed familiar yet distant. Everyone belonged to a circle he grew up in: money, expectations, and judgment looming beneath the surface like a heavy fog. Yet, the cause for local struggling families sparked something in him, nudging him to participate. He couldn't ignore the tug of responsibility that came with his privilege any longer. And then he met Mia. She was enchanting, not in the glossy, perfect way his social circle admired, but in an authentic, genuine manner that effortlessly drew him in. Mia spoke about her life, her aging grandmother needing care, and her relentless dreams of becoming a teacher. Her voice was warm, laced with hope and resilience. Laughter bubbled between them as stories exchanged like precious treasures during their unexpected connection. In that short while, Jake felt a warmth igniting in his heart, like a simmering flame that promised so much more. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue, but as their connection blossomed, whispers began to rise among Jake's affluent peers. Criticism of the class divide reared its head like an unwelcome guest at a dinner party, leaving Jake checked and judged the very essence of the world he'd once felt a part of. Yet, with Mia by his side, he was beginning to see life through a prism of shared struggles and dreams that transcended social boundaries. A community event took a turn for the worse, exposing Mia's family struggles overnight. This sparked outrage from Jake's high society friends, slinging accusations and taunts that made his stomach churn. He stood between the worlds he'd once known and the vibrant rush of life Mia radiated, feeling the tug of familial expectations like icy chains around his heart. Torn, he had little choice but to confront his reality. Would he let societal judgment drive a wedge between a love that felt awakened and fresh, or would he stand firm in the face of prejudice? As doubt clung to him like a shadow, a question loomed: could love withstand the fierce gale of judgment? Would he risk his status for a connection so intense it made the laughter and dreams of the past fade into nothing? Jake felt himself slipping toward a monumental choice, one that would ultimately reveal what truly mattered. Jake paced the length of his apartment, his thoughts racing. The city lights outside shimmered, but he felt numb to their glow. Each flicker reminded him of the warmth he'd felt with Mia, the laughter that had danced between them. Now, as whispers of disapproval echoed in his mind, he grappled with an unbearable truth. The people around him, those who had once been his friends, now felt like strangers, more invested in the status quo than in genuine connection. An image flashed in his mind: Mia's easy smile, her bright eyes that sparkled with dreams. He was drawn back to the moments they had shared, her stories resonating within him in ways he never anticipated. A fierce pain swirled inside him, torn between the expectations that came with his wealth and the raw authenticity of what he felt for her. He couldn't let that go. The next day, he found himself in the middle of a meeting with his board members, a forced smile positioned on his face. But his mind drifted to that night, replaying the words of his best friend, Dan. "You need to make a choice, Jake. You can't have both worlds. One path will lead you where you really want to go." He felt the silence of the room pressing in on him. His colleagues conversed in seasoned tones, discussing profits and targets. Yet, inside him roiled a tempest. "This isn't what I want," he finally said, surprising even himself. The room fell silent, all eyes on him. I'm asking you to listen to me for once. I want to give back, I want to be more than just a figure in a suit making money. I want to make a difference. He blinked against judgment, his heart pounding as he stood tall. And that starts by embracing the life and the love that feels genuine to me. Dan's eyebrows raised, a flicker of admiration clouding his apprehension. The board was less understanding, skepticism flaring in their gazes. But Jake's heart beat loud, drowning out the doubts. If he was going to fight for something meaningful, he had to be willing to face opposition, back to his normal routine, guilt strung along the edges of his resolve. After work, his phone buzzed with a text from Mia. A simple message, thinking of you. It sparked a rush of warmth that infused his being. Quickened and nervous, he typed back, "Can we talk? I have something to say." That evening, they met at a cafe, a cozy place that smelled of fresh coffee and baked goods. The atmosphere was alive with chatter, yet all he could see was her, framed by the soft golden light. She grinned when she spotted him, and for a moment, everything felt possible. "Hey, you okay?" she asked, her eyes searching his. Taking a deep breath, Jake leaned forward, feeling the weight of their worlds pressing against his shoulders. "I need you to know something. These last few days have made me rethink everything. What I feel for you, it matters more than I thought it could." Mia's expression shifted, surprise flickering across her features. He pressed on, nervous energy coursing through him. "I don't care what others think. I want to be with you no matter the noise in the background." A moment of silence followed, her eyes sparkled, reflecting the hope he desperately needed to see. But just as quickly, her smile faded. "Jake, we come from different worlds, what if they never accept us?" His heart raced, bracing for those barriers that stood against them. They were the very doubts he needed to confront, to dismantle. Could they truly stand against the storm together? The unspoken tension hung heavily between them, a bridge waiting to be crossed. As the weight of her words settled, he realized that in seeking love, he might have to fight battles he never planned for. Would he risk everything he's built for a chance at true happiness? And most importantly, could love really conquer the challenges waiting ahead? The real test was just beginning. Jake could feel the pulse of the cafe around them, the laughter and clinks of cups mingling with his racing thoughts. Mia's words hung in the air like an unfinished sentence. He knew this conversation had to go beyond this moment. He had to reach her. "Mia," he said, his voice firm yet tender, "what if we focused on what we can create together rather than what others think?" He searched her eyes, looking for a flicker of hope amidst her doubts. "It's not about their approval, it's about us and what we stand for." She turned away, her gaze drifting out the window, watching as people passed by, busy with their own lives. "You don't understand. You have everything, Jake. The house, the life they want to see me as equal. I could never fit into that world." He reached across the table, gently clasping her hand. "But you're not just an accessory to that world. You have your own accomplishments, your dreams, and your heart just as powerful as any suit and tie. I need that in my life." Her eyes met his again, vulnerability etching deep lines across her brow. "You really think we can build something together against all this?" Jake nodded vigorously. "Absolutely. It won't be easy, but love never is. I want to fight for this, for you." A flicker of emotion crossed her face, and he could see her struggle, a battle of feelings and fears. What if it all falls apart? What if we lose our way? Then we pick each other back up. That's what love is, right? His determination started to chip away at her hesitation, and a small smile appeared. "You believe in this, don't you?" "With all my heart," he replied, and the warmth of his words wrapped around them like a protective cocoon. Suddenly, the cafe door swung open, and a gust of wind rushed in. A group of well-dressed people strolled in, loud and boisterous. Jake recognized them instantly, his business colleagues, laughter spilling from their lips, unaware of the intimate moment unfolding just a few tables away. Mia's face fell, her eyes widening as she pulled her hand back. "Jake, that's them. You'll be good as dead if they see us like this." "Wait," he stalled, feeling the intensity of the moment shift. But it was too late. She had already turned away, retreating into herself, a shadow cast across her hopeful expression. "Mia," he said, desperate. "Don't walk away. I'm not ashamed of you." The group began to scan the room, and Jake's heart raced. He wanted to grab Mia's hand again, to show her this love they could create, to stand tall against the backdrop of the lives they would overcome together. Mia bit her lip, her gaze flitting toward the laughter growing closer. "We shouldn't," she whispered, pain in her voice, but before he could respond, one of his colleagues spotted him, the confident smile that had defined Jake's career slowly shifting to confusion. He raised a hand, calling out, "Jake. Come over here." Jake glanced back at Mia, searching for assurance, but her expression was steely, determination mixed with fear. The laughter was growing louder, drowning out everything else. He had a choice to make in that instant. Could he defy the judgment that loomed around him and protect this budding connection? Or would he let it slip away, conforming to the world that had shaped him thus far? In that moment of indecision, the stakes felt higher than ever. The bridge to their future was now hanging by a thread. Could he pull her along with him without losing everything in the process? And before he could grasp it all fully, he felt the chill of uncertainty creep back in, wrapping around him like the city night that promised to swallow his courage whole. What would he choose? Would he stay true to his heart, or let the expectations of his world close in around them both? The answers seemed clearer than they ever had, yet the weight of the moment felt heavier than ever before. Jake's mind spun like a carousel caught in a storm. He stood there, caught between two worlds: Mia's fragility and the loud certainty of his colleagues. The laughter echoed through the cafe, a cacophony of unsaid judgments that tightened his throat. "Mia," he whispered, but she was looking down now, like she was trying to melt into the floor. Her resolve pushed him back. He watched her withdraw, the warmth of their moment turning into a chill. It felt like watching a light turn off in the room. "Guys, this way." One of his colleagues laughed, waving them over, oblivious to the turmoil swirling at Jake's table. The group was a tidal wave, ready to crash into his world, and Mia would be swept away unless he did something. His instinct screamed to escape with her, scoot out the door and run until the noise faded into nothing. But that would mean abandoning the very future he was trying to claim. "Mia, please," he said, his heart hammering against his chest. "All they see is a pretty face and a suit. They don't understand who you are. They don't matter." She shook her head, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "I don't know if I can do this, Jake. Can you?" Her words hit him like a punch. Could he? He thought of their laughter, their quiet moments, her dreams. He had built a life where he felt secure. But was it worth it if it meant giving up on her? "Mia, it's you. All of you," he breathed, taking a leap he never expected. "They may not understand, but I do. I want to fight for us." Just as he was ready to stand tall, another voice cut through the tension, sarcastic and loud. "Jake, what's the hold-up? You here having a business meeting or playing house?" The laughter of his colleagues rang out again, and he could feel Mia shrink further into herself. That was it. The moment tipped. With a deep breath, Jake pushed back from the table as if he were shedding an old skin. The cafe quieted around him, the air thickening. Every eye was on him, the silent weights of expectation pressing down. Actually, he started, finding that standstill clarity that sometimes came from vulnerability. "I was here with someone who matters. Someone who deserves my attention more than all this." He opened his arms slightly, gesturing toward Mia. Gasps stirred among the group, eyes darting from Jake to Mia and back. The surprise on their faces was palpable. "Mia, you are incredible," he said, turning all his focus to her, intent on rebuilding the fragile bridge between them. "And I will not let their judgment hinder what we have." I don't care what they think. For a breathless moment, time suspended itself. Mia's surprised eyes softened, and he could see the battle within her shift. Moments later, she stepped forward, each movement infused with hesitant bravery. As if the universe conspired, her hand found his, fingers intertwining in a fragile grip. The warmth surged between them, a perfect juxtaposition against the shadows that loomed over them. The cafe had suddenly faded into a distant echo, leaving just the two of them, but before they could settle into the newfound electric charge that surged, one colleague spoke up, a hint of disbelief edging his tone. "But, Jake, what about your reputation?" Jake turned, suddenly feeling like a soldier shocked into awareness. "Reputation? My reputation matters less than my happiness. And, for what it's worth, Mia is my happiness." The words rang out, solid and clear. But beneath that, he knew trouble still brewed on the horizon. Mia squeezed his hand tighter, looking up at him. There was uncertainty, yet a burgeoning trust flickered in her eyes. Jake exhaled, feeling the weight of that moment expand beyond the cafe's walls. What if this single act of defiance was only the beginning? What would happen next? The air crackled between them, the path ahead shrouded in both promise and uncertainty. What storm were they walking into? "Let us go," he finally said, heart racing with a mixture of determination and dread. As they headed toward the door, a sharp laugh from behind cut through once more, leaving an unsettling weight that lingered in the air. "Looks like we found you a project, Jake." Jake paused for a heartbeat, his heart pounding, as he turned back with defiance. The audacity in his chest flared. Their laughter was a haunting echo. He wouldn't let pull him down. "Maybe I just found my future," he replied, his voice more powerful than he felt. As they stepped outside, he could hear the distant chatter and clinking of cups behind him. Behind those walls lived the expectations he was ready to break. But in that moment, with Mia's hand firmly in his, what lay ahead felt vastly unknown. And he realized, the real battle was just beginning. Would they face it together, or would the world around them divide them once more? The uncertainty lingered like a fog, shrouding what came next. How would they navigate life's unpredictable maze together? The crisp evening air outside the cafe felt surreal, almost electric against Jake's skin. He and Mia emerged from the world they had briefly escaped, clutching their futures in a fragile embrace. The soft hues of twilight painted the sky, yet their hearts thumped wildly, emotions still raw from the showdown within the cafe. Mia glanced at Jake, a mix of uncertainty and hope in her eyes. "What now?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. It struck him how much weight those two words carried. They held the power to shape their next steps together, a fork in the road of their budding relationship. Jake took a deep breath, feeling the once familiar rhythm of his life beat out of sync. "Now we figure this out. Together." With those words, he wanted to instill confidence in her, he wanted to wipe away the uncertainty that clouded her expression. But deep inside, he felt the doubt too. The laughter of his colleagues still echoed in his ears, and their earlier comments lingered, like shadows chasing after them. They started walking, hand in hand, letting the city's sparse streets guide them. The vibrant sounds of nightlife began to surround them, lively chatter wafting from nearby bars, music spilling out onto the streets. It all felt so far from the suffocating air of judgment and expectations that permeated the cafe. "Mia, what do you really want?" Jake asked, breaking the silence that began to settle between them. It was a loaded question, one that could open doors to new realms of vulnerability. He could almost see her contemplating each possibility that lay before her. She stopped, pulling him under the warm light of a street lamp, its glow casting soft shadows across her features. I want to feel like I belong. Not just to you, but in this world too." A tremor flickered in her voice, a pulse of raw truth that struck him to his core. He nodded, his fingers tracing patterns on her palm, trying to infuse her with strength through that simple connection. "You belong. You belong with me. I promise." Mia searched his eyes, looking for reassurance, seeking the belief that had momentarily flickered in that cafe. Wariness clashed with hope, emotions dancing across her features. But what if they never accept me? She murmured, the tears she held back now threatening to spill. What if we end up losing everything? For a fleeting moment, Jake wanted to assure her that everything would be perfect like some grand romantic comedy, where true love conquers all. But the reality danced dimly in his mind. I can't promise that, but I can promise I will fight for us. I want to let them come between us. Her eyes softened, a hint of a smile breaking through. You're talking a big game, Jake. But do you mean it? I do. The weight of his words echoed louder than he expected, filling the lingering silence like a solid commitment. The sincerity in his voice crossed the threshold into a promise, something they would navigate together. They resumed walking, each step a small stitch binding their fates together. Jake's heartbeat drummed an anxious tempo, battling the shadows of doubt that surfaced. How about I cook us dinner? He proposed suddenly, an impulsive attempt to lighten the mood. Mia's face lit up, a spark ignited against the soft dusk. Are you sure you can cook? I've seen you burn toast. Jake chuckled, relieved at her teasing. Okay, I can follow directions. And I know a secret trick or two. From that moment, laughter wrapped around them, creating a bubble of shared joy that pushed back against the uncertainties clouding the evening. Even as they walked into unknown territory, lightness returned, igniting something vibrant between them. But as they neared his apartment, a familiar unease crawled back in. Each step felt like a tightrope walk above a churning sea of judgment that they might still have to face. Would they be able to keep their balance? When they finally reached his door, Jake hesitated, his hand hovering above the handle. There was a heaviness in the air again, a whisper of reality that lingered just above the gleam of happiness they had created. Mia, he said slowly, conflict swirling in his heart, what happens if we face his world together? What if their opinions still pose a threat? In that moment, the question hung, heavy between them, like a fine line stretching taut. Would love truly conquer all, or would they find themselves ensnared in the shadows they just began to emerge from? As he waited for her reply, the uncertainty swollen between them felt palpable, and the night air thickened with every silent heartbeat. Jake's fingers lingered on the doorknob, a moment unraveling like a slow movie scene, filled with tension and unspoken fears. Mia stepped closer, her warmth against him like a lifeline. What are you afraid of? She asked softly. He let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. I'm afraid of failing you, of not being strong enough. Her gaze pierced through him, seeking the truth buried under the surface. Then let us be strong together, she said, her voice steady and firm. I can't run from this. Not anymore. Jake turned the knob, the door creaking open as if giving way to their uncertainties, but pushing through felt liberating. Inside, the cozy light from his kitchen felt like a haven. He motioned for her to take a seat at the small table, but she hesitated. What if we're making a mistake? Together, we won tea, he said, the conviction in his voice lighting up the space around them. He put on his favorite playlist, the kind of music that always made things feel a little lighter. As he rummaged through his cupboards for pasta and a can of sauce, he could feel her watching him. You really think we can make this work? She asked again, leaning forward, elbows on the table, waiting for his answer like it was the most vital question of the night. He turned, fresh basil in hand, the scent lifting his spirits. I do. We have something real here. And I refuse to let anybody take that from us. Not my world, not your fears. Mia smiled, a shimmer of hope lighting up her eyes. Well, if you can pull off tonight's dinner, I might just believe you. They shared a laugh as he desperately attempted to chop garlic, the knife slipping around like it had a mind of its own. He felt her eyes on him in that playful way, the laughter between them creating tiny pockets of warmth against a backdrop of worry. Each moment spent cooking became a distraction, a gentle rhythm easing the uncertainties. They chatted about everything and nothing, what movies they loved, what dreams they had as kids, and what they envisioned for the future. As he stirred the sauce, the conversation drifted back to the cafe. "Do you think we'll ever have a hand to hold in the storm?" Mia asked quietly. Jake paused, looking at her with deep intensity. "Every storm, every judgment will face it together. No one can take away what we feel. No one can tear us apart unless we let them." Once dinner was served, they sat down, a humble candle flickering between them. It felt like they had carved out a secret universe where only they existed. The food filled the room with comforting aromas, but it was their shared laughter that truly satisfied the hunger in his heart. Just as they began to eat, his phone buzzed loudly on the counter, cutting through the soft ambience. Jake glanced at it, recognition hitting him like a drop of cold water. It was a group message from his colleagues. Fingers trembling, he picked it up, scrolling through the chat. "Did you see Jake's girl? What a disaster." A flurry of laughter emojis followed. The room shifted, laughter dying in Mia's eyes. "Jake," she said, the change in her tone abrupt like a sharp gust of wind. She looked deflated, the flicker of hope dimming as reality knocked again. He placed his phone down, rage bubbling beneath the surface. "No. Not tonight." He met her gaze with fierce determination. "This isn't about them." But the shadows were back, encroaching in on their fragile moment. What would it take to keep the darkness at bay? Would they survive the storm that his world was preparing for them? As the evening's warmth collided with the coldness of unwavering judgment, something shattered within him. The stakes were higher now, and the challenge ahead seemed daunting. "Jake," Mia whispered, her voice small yet fearless, "can we face them together?" And there it was, the call to action. Every thought in his mind screamed for a moment of clarity, a single answer amid the chaos. As he looked into her determined eyes, he knew it was more than a question, it was a promise. But the depth of commitment required felt enormous, and the weight of what was. Outside their door loomed larger than life. Would they choose to engage with the world together, no matter the challenge? As silence settled, waiting for his response, he realized this was not just another fork in the road, it was about forging a path against a tide that threatened to sweep them away. How do you prepare for a battle when love is on the line? Jake's heart raced, the air thick with unspoken words. Mia's eyes searched his, vulnerable yet fierce. It was as if they both stood at the edge of a cliff, staring into the unknown. He took a deep breath, trying to drown out the worries slithering into his mind, fear of the judgment from his friends, of their disapproval. "We can," he finally said, hoping his voice sounded more confident than he felt. "We can face it all, Mia. Together." Her smile returned, softer this time, lighting up the room. "Then let us start right now." But just as their tension eased, the buzz of his phone echoed again, its disruptive noise against the calm. This time, it wasn't a group text, it was a video call from his mom. Jake hesitated, glancing between the phone and Mia, her expression darkening ever so slightly. From past conversations with his family, he could guess what was coming. "Jake, don't." He rubbed the back of his neck, feeling an old anxious habit trying to creep back in. "What if it's important? Or just more of the same?" She shot back, a flicker of hurt in her gaze. Her words stung, but he shoved it aside and answered the call. The screen lit up, revealing his mother's concerned face. "Jake, I just wanted to check in. Heard things aren't going great with your date." Mia looked away, the tension curling tightly back into the air. She picked at her plate, the chatter that had once filled the space replaced by silence. "I'm happy, Mom," he said firmly, trying to drown out the noise behind him. "I'm with Mia. This is real. Real or not, you know how people can be, you really should be careful, honey." He glanced at Mia, her shoulders stiffening with every word, and a wave of anger surged through him. "I know my life better than anyone else, Mom. I'll handle this." With one last glance, he hung up, exhaling sharply. "I'm sorry," he said to Mia, his voice cracking slightly. I didn't want that to happen. Hurt enough, huh? She asked quietly, but her voice held a steeliness to it. You think you can protect me from them, your friends, your family? They're going to hurt me, Jake, and it's going to hurt you too. He shook his head, the overwhelm of emotions threatening to pull him under. We can't let them dictate what we have. But what if it isn't enough? Her words trembled slightly, revealing the cracks she tried to hide. I don't want to be the one that ruins you. A heaviness settled around them, thick and suffocating. Jake reached over the table, his fingers brushing against hers, raw connection sparking between them. You can't ruin something that's already beautiful. You're the best part of my life right now. She looked at him, searching his face like he held the answers to her fears. But if I'm not strong enough, you already are. You just need to hold on to that. Mia bit her lip, fighting back emotions threatening to spill over. It was a struggle. They both understood the fight against the ever-encroaching doubts. Just then, the harsh buzz of his phone interrupted the stillness once more. This time, it was a call from his best friend, Andrew. Pick up, man. You need to hear this. Jake sighed, feeling the weight of all that was happening pressing against him. He exchanged a wary glance with Mia, who raised an eyebrow, curiosity piqued but also concern evident. Should I answer? He asked, feeling like he teetered on the brink of something. Mia nodded slowly, her eyes wide, yes. But don't let them pull you in. Jake answered, but as his friend's voice spilled into the room, it felt like an avalanche of impending chaos. Dude, you need to know what everyone's saying. The air grew heavier, and Jake braced himself for the storm brewing on the other side of the line. What was Andrew going to reveal? Were they about to face even more judgment, or would he finally open a door to support? Every nerve in his body screamed with anticipation. But as Jake listened, he sensed one truth amidst the chaos: the real battle was just beginning. Jake, listen to me, Andrew's voice crackled through the phone, urgent and demanding. It's bad. Like, really bad. The whole group is buzzing about you and Mia. You've got some serious gossip circulating. Mia's breath hitched at the word gossip. Jake's heart sank, every beat amplifying the tension in the room. Hold on, Jake said, rising to his feet, trying to pace but feeling rooted to the spot. What exactly are they saying? Some are saying that it's just a fling, you know. That you're just experimenting because she's well, you know, different, Andrew replied, his tone softening slightly as if he understood the weight of his words. Jake felt the heat rising in his chest, a mix of anger, embarrassment, and fear. He glanced at Mia, who sat silently, her face pale and guarded. He hated that he had put her in this position again, that the whispers and stares from his world were now closing in on them. What do you mean different? Jake shot back, clenching his fist. She's incredible. You know that. Jake, I'm just saying what I'm hearing, Andrew said, sounding a bit defensive. You know how people talk, especially when they think they're being funny or clever. Look, I'm not trying to say that you're not serious about her. But are you sure you want to put your energy into this when you could be dealing with a lot of backlash? Jake pushed his hair back, frustration spilling over. I don't care about the judgment. What matters is how I feel about Mia. Andrew used a different tone, one that sounded less like a friend and more like a concerned adult. Think about it, man. It's a lot. You could be risking everything. I don't want to see you hurt. Doubt crept in, like a thief slinking through shadows. Had he been naive, thinking his friends might support this? The fire inside him began to flicker, but he shoved it down. I know what I want, Drew. But that's not going to get in the way for her. She's worth fighting for. Mia's gaze slipped to the floor, her fingers twisting together anxiously. Jake could feel the weight of her emotions, a blend of hurt and hopelessness that threatened to drown them both. Listen, Andrew continued, hesitating a moment. Maybe you should just lay low, give it some time. Let the heat die down. I'm with you, but stop, Jake interjected, feeling the anger rise. If I back down now, I'm letting them win. I won't let anyone take Mia away from me. Not my friends, not my family. Nobody gets to decide what's real for us. Jake, Andrew warned, but Jake hung up. He felt the silence return, pressing against him like a wall. Mia, he said softly, crossing the room to kneel in front of her. You heard all that, didn't you? I'm sorry. Tears glimmered in her eyes, but she blinked them away. You don't have to apologize, she whispered, her voice shaky. But what if Andrew is right? The constant scrutiny, what happens if it gets too hard? I don't want to cause you pain. No. Jake took her hands, his heart racing as he searched her gaze. You have to believe that I'm all in. I don't care what they say. This is about us. You are not a mistake. Mia's expression began to shift, a flicker of hope sparking within her pain. But then her brow furrowed, uncertainty returning like the tide. And if it doesn't work out? What if their words become too loud? Or worse, what if I can't be the person you need? Holding her fingers tight, he leaned closer, intent in his voice. You already are. Just be yourself. Fight with me, Mia. Don't let anyone scare you into hiding. Their eyes locked, a wave of unspoken tenderness pulsing between them. Slowly, she nodded, her breath catching as she let her walls lower a fraction, but just as hope began to fill the air, Jake's phone buzzed again, a frantic message lighting up the screen. His heart dropped. The name was once familiar but now weighed heavy with the anticipation of further chaos. That he glanced at Mia, who frowned in concern. What is happening? I think we're about to find out, Jake said, his pulse quickening as he picked up the phone. What kind of turmoil was lurking just out of sight? The answer could change everything for them. And deep inside, he had to wonder, would they emerge together, or was the chasm wider than he could bridge? Jake's thumb hovered over the screen, heart pounding in anticipation. He opened the message, and his stomach churned at the words that flashed before him. It was from a group chat with all of his friends, filled with photos of him and Mia that someone had snapped from across the street. She looked vibrant against the backdrop of the busy city street, and he appeared equally caught up in the moment, his hand brushing against hers as they shared a laugh. Wow, look at the happy couple. One message read, followed by a string of laughing emojis. Others chimed in, mocking and cheering in equal measure, igniting a familiar vicious energy that had built up around their relationship. Who knew Jake had such unique taste? Another comment added, clicking like in rapid succession. Jake felt a wave of heat flood his face. This was what he had feared, the public eyes, the whispers. They were no longer just rumors, they had sprung to life in the most humiliating way. Mia's eyes darted towards the phone screen, her expression shifting from concern to horror. Oh no, Jake, what are they saying? Either just being idiots. He held the phone out, but she didn't look at it. Instead, she shook her head, a small smile trying to fight its way through her worry. Idiot doesn't begin to cover it, Mia said softly, her bravado waning. Do you really think you can handle this? I can handle them, Mia. I just need you by my side, he replied, trying to convince both her and himself. But what if it gets worse? What if we can't take the heat? She asked, her voice trembling slightly. Jake could see the fear creeping back into her eyes, threatening to pull her away from him once more. Look, Jake urged, taking a breath to steady his thoughts. I don't want to lose you over what they think. We want to let them dictate our lives. We'll face it together. Mia blinked back the tears, her expression a mix of defiance and uncertainty. She took a deep breath, as if gathering strength from somewhere deep inside her. Okay, but you know this isn't just a game for them. They'll look for ways to hurt us. I know, he said, squeezing her hands tighter, grounding himself in the warmth of her grasp. But we can't let them win. We can't let their words shape how we feel. The gravity of their situation settled heavily around them, and the fleeting moments of hope they had shared seemed so fragile now. They were standing at the precipice of their fears. Suddenly, another message pinged through the phone. Hesitant, Jake glanced at the screen again. It was Andrew this time, not in a group message but a direct one. "I'm sorry, man, but you've got to see this. Check Twitter." Panic clawed at Jake's chest. "What's happening now?" he murmured. His heart raced as he clicked over to Twitter, where trending topics screamed their own brand of chaos. His name was plastered in bold letters, hashtags flooding the page: Jake and Mia, weird couple, another celebrity fling, Mia's breath caught, and they both stared in disbelief at the onslaught of comments ranging from supportive messages wishing them well, to vile insults aimed at Mia's background. It was all raw, unfiltered, and relentless. "This is insane," Jake muttered, shaking his head. "I never wanted this." Mia leaned in closer, her warmth almost grounding him. "Neither did I, but we can't let them tear us apart. We deserve better than this." Jake turned to her, his heart swelling with emotion. "You're right. We can't back down. But can we handle what's about to come?" Their eyes locked, a mixture of fear and determination swirling within them. They stood on the edge of chaos together. With a surge of resolve, he declared, "Then let us make them see. Let us show them what real love looks like." But just as hope began to spark, his phone buzzed again. A new notification. What now? He hesitated, glancing at Mia, her eyes wide with concern. What if it's worse? "Maybe," he said, the weight of uncertainty hanging in the air. "But we must face it together." As Jake opened the message, bracing himself for the worst, an ominous feeling settled deep in his gut. This could change everything. What awaited them next was more than just scandal, it was the potential culmination of their love or the very threat of its unraveling. Jake stared at the phone screen, a mixture of anticipation and dread swirling within him. He took a deep breath, steeling himself for whatever lay ahead. He clicked the notification, his pulse racing. That it was from a prominent news outlet. The headline screamed out at him, "Tech billionaire's shocking romance. Is he touting love or just a new PR stunt?" The article was filled with judgment, speculation, and even quotes from people who had only seen snippets of their lives. Mia read over his shoulder, her jaw tightening, the flicker of hope from moments before dimming in the wake of this new assault. "Look what you've gotten into," her voice trembled. "No," he said firmly, "this is not what it is. They don't know us. This is our story." His heart raced, but he could feel the cracks in their fragile reality. Doubt began to gnaw at him again, threatening to pull him under, but something shifted inside him. Glancing at Mia, the light in her eyes slightly flickered, he realized that they had come too far to back down. "We can turn this around," he declared, his voice rising with unexpected confidence. "It's time to be loud and proud about us." Mia looked up at him, awe and fear dancing in her gaze. "Like how?" "We talk about who we are," Jake said, his heart pounding steadily. "We embrace what we have together, not hide it. We live in the shadows of their judgment. We'll show them we're real." She hesitated, doubt still lingering, but it was clear he meant every word. "What about your friends, your family?" she asked, seeking assurance. "I'll handle them," he replied with a determined look. "And if they can't stand by me for loving you, then they don't deserve a spot in my life. It's time we draw a line in the sand." Mia's expression shifted, hope chipping away at the barriers built by fear. "Can we really do this?" "Together," Jake replied, his voice steady and sure. He reached for her hand, intertwining their fingers, the warmth between them igniting courage. As they made their way back to his apartment, initiate their own rally, it was as if the city itself breathed with them, vibrancy coursing through the streets filled with laughter and light. Each step felt stronger, fueled by the determination they had locked together. When they arrived, Jake flipped on his laptop and opened a live stream platform, his heart racing with the weight of what he was about to do. "Are you sure?" Mia asked, her voice slightly hoarse but underlined with unyielding strength. Absolutely, he affirmed, his eyes locked onto hers, drawing strength from the connection they shared. It's time. He clicked go live and the screen filled with the radiant colors of their lives, the love they had unearthed amidst judgment. Hi everyone. Jake Thornton here. I know there's been a lot of talk lately. People want to know about me and Mia. So here we are, sharing our truth. With every word, he felt the confidence build. He spoke of Mia's dreams, her aspirations, the challenges they faced, and how love had bridged the gap between their worlds. I chose to be with her because of who she is, raw, brave, and real. And I refuse to let societal norms dictate my happiness. A moment of silence filled the air as Mia's heart swelled. And I chose him because he sees me for me. Not just boundaries or history, but what we can build together. She beamed, her strength shining through the vulnerability, as courage swept through her like rising warmth. Love is never about status. It's about connection, hope, and the courage to face adversity together. Comments poured in, and though some were filled with hate, most rallied behind their honesty. As support surged, hope bloomed brightly, illuminating the dark corners of their lives where doubt had lurked. For every judgmental comment, there were countless messages of love and inspiration. They were building a community, proving that love could be bigger than the hate. After the live stream ended, silence enveloped them momentarily, but it was a silence filled with power, a shared testament to their bravery. Did we really just do that? Mia asked, astonished yet empowered. Yes, and we're only getting started. Jake grinned, a radiant smile spreading across his face. As laughter erupted between them again, the nervous energy shifted to pure joy. They leaned into the possibilities ahead, wrapping arms around each other, a tender embrace that promised resilience and unity. Outside, the city glimmered with lights, bearing witness to their transformation, while echoes of judgment faded in the backdrop. Together, they had transformed what could have been their greatest fear into a rallying cry for love. Ready for whatever comes next? Jake whispered, holding her close, feeling her heart beat against his. More than ever, Mia replied, filled with the glow of unyielding resolve. In that moment, they understood, the journey ahead wouldn't always be easy, but together they could weather any storm, transforming fear into empowerment. They were ready to rise above the judgments, ready to claim their love for all the world to see, and as the stars twinkled overhead, they stepped forward together into a future bursting with promise, knowing nothing could dim the light of their love. This was just the beginning. Don't wait not even one more second to embrace your own journey. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, every click counts. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this heartfelt ending. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this transformation. You need to be part of a community that stands for love and connection. Let us build this together.